Hi, everybody. Welcome to another English class here on verbling.com. My name is Lisa, and I'm one of the English teachers here. And today we're going to be working with some idiomatic expressions. I think I have about 15 that I wanted to share with you and go over so that you can learn them and be able to understand them when you hear them or when you read them. But also, hopefully you'll be able to learn how to use them as well, because that's even more fun when you can actually use them correctly. So we're going to be going over them during this hour. If you want to join the class, just click on the Join Class button. Of course, if you have a reservation, you can use that as well in those first 2 minutes. But otherwise, just wait for the Join Class button, and then you can join us. Hi, David. How are you?
Hi, Lisa. Well, I'm beginning to be concerned. I'm beginning to be concerned about the
Hold
Ebola
on.
in Spain.
Oh, really? Yeah, why?
Yeah. The nurses very her life is in a great danger. Is almost dying. It's getting worse since yesterday.
Yeah.
The infected people or possible infected people are increasing in Madrid. Maybe it's only hysteria. Oh, I saw the nurse last week, so oh my God, I have Ebola also, so
Yeah.
I need to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
But the news are full of uh, articles about the situation, new cases, not new cases, but new uh, people who possibly could be infected or something like that. So it's like a little paranoia in that
Right.
moment.
Right. Yeah, I imagine it's hard not to start being paranoid if you think that, especially if you start thinking that trying to help somebody who has can like spread quickly that way. So hopefully they're figuring out how to deal with it, because the way I understand it is not everybody has to die. Like, some people do get better. It's not like a fact that you're just going to get it and die. Like, you can get better, right?
Yeah, according to I only know the name in Spanish, the World Health Organization.
World Health Organization.
The 90% of infected people die. So okay, it's very dangerous,
Yeah.
and in that sense, I'm not worried about, because it's more or less it's difficult to get infected, but we cannot trust in our politicians, in our for example, in the United States or the World Health Organization
Right.
recommends to treat these kind of diseases with security level number 4, and in Spain we are applying number 2.
Oh. Well, you got to step it up then, huh?
Yes, that means
Yeah.
that the doctors are not wearing the appropriate customs
Oh, I
with
see.
oxygen bottles or something like that.
I
So
see. Yeah.
we are doing the things very bad, and all of these are political decisions. So yeah, I think yesterday I told you I'm angry and I feel shame. Okay, I'm going to start to be afraid about the Spanish people, but because of our politicians. First, it's not. I have the same discussion at work when in August the first Spanish priest infected with Ebola in Africa came to Spain to try to save his life. I told,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
I
crazy,
remember you
totally
telling me that.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's totally crazy. You cannot do that. Okay, in the United States, you have great hospitals, great mm,
Maybe that's the stuff we need for the.
great facilities to deal with that kind. So,
Yeah.
as American, I could be in calm. As an Spanish, I'm not in calm.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So said at all, it's crazy. To bring this kind of person, it's crazy. And now we are watching, we are realizing the
The effects
results.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The results, or yeah.
And in fact, in the United States, any American citizen is infected. The doctors or nurses, there are only people who came from Africa. So it's
Right.
not the same. In that case, the first person infected out of Africa. Because
Yeah, well,
we
we'll
are not
see.
used
We'll
to.
see how it goes in Dallas because people did treat him, and so people who came in contact with him, the patient who died, they're also being observed right now. So we'll see how that
Yeah.
goes.
Sorry,
Yeah. Hi, Andrew.
hello, teacher. What's up? I'm glad to see you
What's
again.
up? Good to see you. Hi, Alex. Welcome.
Hi. Hello.
So we were just talking a little bit, waiting to see if some other people join us. David's expressing his frustration about the Spanish government and how they're handling the Ebola virus in Spain.
I just heard your speech, and I think that he is exaggerate that problem. It isn't so dangerous how as it seems. And
Yeah, I agree.
she is upset about that, obsessive about that.
No, you're right. I mean, the virus it's difficult to get infected by the Ebola, especially in a developed country where we have good hospitals and something like that. But the government is not taking the right decisions to deal with this crisis. So we are getting more and more infected people because we are not doing our homework.
It's not so dangerous how as it seems.
Andre, what do you know about Ebola? We can talk about this for a little bit, see if some other people join us, and then we can get involved with our lesson. But Andre, do you know about Ebola very much?
I I heard about that, but a little bit. All as I know that it's located in Africa.
Yeah, a few countries in Africa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Western Africa. Yeah. Yeah, right now it's mostly in Africa, and it spreads more quickly in Africa because they have less ability to care for the patients in a good way, so it spreads because the healthcare system is not as advanced or high tech and all of that type of thing. It's not as sanitary, perhaps, and so the fear comes from people leaving those countries and traveling to other countries and then becoming infected. For example, one person came from one of those countries, Liberia, I think, and he was infected. He didn't know he was, and then he came to the United States. He came back to the United States. That's where he lives, and he didn't realize he had been infected, and then he was, and then he died. So, and then people treating people who are infected, if they don't take the necessary precautions, like what David was talking about, there's specific protocols and suits that you're supposed to wear and things like that, then it's more possible, because you're treating a patient, you're dealing with their fluids and things like this, you might actually get it if you don't follow correct procedures. Yeah. So it's kind of dangerous that way. But very limited, like it's not dangerous for you or for me or people like that. Yeah. Okay, well, hopefully it won't get out of hand. So hopefully, David, what you're saying is they'll recognize their mistakes quickly and fix them, and then it'll stop. So that would be the best. Not let it get out of control. All right, so let's move our attention to some idiomatic expressions in English that you may or may not be familiar with. So we're going to go through some. I'm going to basically teach you these, and maybe you're familiar with them. So if you are, you can add what you know already about these specific expressions, and we'll go over them and maybe figure out how we can use them. And then I actually have a little test that you guys can take to see if you really learned them or not. So let's just start with the first one here. So the expression is to keep a stiff upper lip. So when you hear idiomatic expressions, of course the verbs can be changed to whatever tense and that type of thing. And sometimes in the expressions, other words can change. Maybe they can change to plural or something like that. But you kind of have to get a feel for it and see how it's used. So in this case, to keep a stiff upper lip. I'm going to give you the example, and then I want to see what you think it means. So Alex, why don't you read the example for us, the sentence that uses this expression? Can you guys read that okay? Is it big enough?
Yes. Even though... Oh, I can see it.
Okay. Sorry, I moved it.
Even though his coach was yelling at him, he kept a stiff upper lip.
To keep a stiff upper lip. So what do you think it means to keep a stiff upper lip?
Keep stiff upper lip.
I put the picture there that might help you. So if you see the guy here, his lip, it's literal, like he's holding his lip up and he's holding his head back, and we would say he's keeping a stiff upper lip. So what is he doing or not doing?
He's keep his chin up.
Chin up, yeah, he's keeping his chin up. Similar to that expression, yeah.
Whatever happened, he's always have a good temper.
Well, that's what chin up means. If you say keep your chin up, it means, you know, don't worry about something, be happy. But keeping a stiff upper lip means a little bit different thing here. Does anybody know? Have you guys heard about this one before?
Maybe means something like pretentious.
No, not exactly.
It's more related with the pride.
Yeah.
There's the pride. It's for example, you have made a mistake and you know it, and someone is telling you off
Yeah.
because of the mistake, and you keep a stiff upper lip.
Right, that would be a way to use it. Yeah. You don't what? Yeah, that's the main idea. You don't what?
You don't want to accept that you have made a mistake.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, kind of another way that we could say that, I'm going to put it here. I'll put it in the, hold on. So, you're acting as though you are not upset. So, I got to make it bigger here for you. So, when you're keeping a stiff upper lip. So stiff means not flexible. So you're holding your lip, and so it's almost like, maybe I was thinking in this sentence, maybe, you know, if you're a little kid and your coach, your soccer coach or baseball coach is yelling at you, sometimes kids cry, you know. They feel really upset and they just cry, or they feel really bad. But if a kid is keeping a stiff upper lip, he's not letting it affect him, even though he might really be upset or frustrated or want to cry. He's keeping it inside, so he's not showing his emotions. So you probably would say this, like to describe somebody you see. You know, something happened to somebody, like you said, Alex, somebody's chewing somebody out or telling them off or something, and the other person, instead of crying, instead of having like an emotional breakdown or something, they're keeping a stiff upper lip. They're not saying anything, maybe, and they're not showing that they're having emotions.
In other words, it means hiding emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, hiding your, because you might really be upset inside or sad even, but when you're keeping a stiff upper lip, you're not letting people know. You're not showing what's going on for you. Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and if you think of this picture, it's almost like a literal thing when you're trying not to show your frustration or anger, or maybe you're trying not to cry. You might actually do that with your lip, like make it stiff so that your face doesn't really show what's going on, because sometimes your facial expressions can give away, your anger or your frustration or something. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. So you could do that, like if your boss was, giving you some criticism or something, you would keep a stiff upper lip. Stiff upper lip. Yep. Okay, good. What about this one? Andre, why don't you read both of these?
To sweep something under the rug. The president tried to sweep the embarrassing incident under the rug.
What do you think it means?
It means to when the person trying to hide something unpleasant.
Yeah.
From public.
Right.
From public attention.
Yeah, exactly. Or from just anybody, like even your friends or maybe your family, or exactly. You want to try to hide something or make something like not a big deal. Let's just sweep that under the rug and forget about it, right? We're going to just like put it there and hide it or not even think about it. So do you guys have something like this in your own languages, Spanish or Andrew, do you also speak Russian or you just Ukraine? Like Ukraine and Russian?
I'm able to speak either Russian or Ukrainian.
Oh, okay.
Perfectly and fluent.
Aha. Okay, cool. Nice. That's great.
Since their both are similar and have one root.
Aha. Yeah. So, David, you're sharing with us this the movie Wag the Dog. Is that your example of sweeping things under the rug? Whoops.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember seeing that movie, but that's a definite good example, and that's a lot of times when you'll hear this kind of thing, like a politician maybe, or like a public agency or somebody, and they're trying to, like, another word is to cover it up. They're kind of just covering up is a little bit different because you actually try to make people think something differently and tell them lies maybe, but just sweeping something under the rug is more like, let's just hide this, let's get it out of people's minds, out of their view, that type of thing. So you could say this, David, even like in the future when we look back on what happened, with Ebola in Spain, you could say something like maybe the politicians just wanted to sweep everything under the rug and like forget about it and hide the facts as they happened,
Yeah, I can't tell this now because in May, I think it was in May, the Nurse and Doctors Associations asked the government the protocol to follow in case of receive some people infected, and the government didn't send any kind of document. And now they are trying to improvise documents and creating new protocols or trying to adapt the World Health Organization to Spanish facilities, or okay, we can accomplish that part, so we are going to create a new protocol more or less the same, but okay, we are hiding the two last points of the Ebola protocol, so they are trying to trick us, and it's very, very frustrating.
Yeah, yes, I see.
As Andre said, I'm not worried, I'm angry. I'm very angry.
Yeah. Yeah, because you would like to see more transparency, so everybody knows what's happening, and more implementation, quick implementation.
Actually, our president yesterday told in Europe, "Oh yes, my colleagues from other countries told me, oh, you are doing a great job with this crisis." Oh my God, you are giving me, please.
Yeah. All right. So let's keep going on. Okay, so David, why don't you read this one?
Okay, to be in someone else's shoes. After seeing how hard he works and all the criticisms he gets, I certainly would want to be in his shoes.
That's wrong. Wouldn't want to be in his shoes. Yeah.
I was thinking about something is wrong here.
Good. So what does it mean to be in somebody else's shoes?
Okay, I think it's related to something is speaking. No. Okay, it's something related to empathy. I mean, you have to understand what's happening in someone's life, for example, to get the same decisions that this person or something like that. So it's very easy to create an opinion or to say your opinion without enough knowledge. So you have to put your mind in your skin to know, for example, an issue or a problem, and say, okay, I completely understand your situation.
Yeah.
Sorry, teacher.
Yeah, Andrew.
In my language, in Russian, we have the similar expression. Something like, I don't wanna be in his place.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So we can use it a couple of different ways, just like David and like understand what it's like to be that person. You're like in their shoes, and so you can have maybe empathy for them. Like if. But another way is you could say something like, I would or I wouldn't want to be in his shoes or his or her shoes, because you don't like what has to happen, like what's happening for that person. So the shoes is like the place. So yeah, so for our example sentence here, if I say this, I see how hard he's working and everybody's criticizing him, I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. I wouldn't want to be doing what he's doing. So his shoes would mean like I wouldn't want to be in his position, in his job, living his life right now. So it's almost like, David, for the Ebola thing, you could say like, you could say if I were in his shoes, talking about like the president or whoever's in charge of handling Ebola in Spain, if I were in their shoes, I would do this. And then you could explain, like if I was in the same position, I would do things completely different. So a couple of different ways you can use this. Yeah. Yeah.
Teacher,
go ahead.
I know the expression that is in the both language, in English and in Russian. It's that idiomatic expression is I'm washing my hands of that. I wash my hand of that.
Yeah, that's a different expression. This one is more like if I were in your shoes, then you would say something like, I would do it this way, or I wouldn't do it that way. Or you could say, I'm glad I'm not in your shoes, which means...
I got it.
You got it. Cool. Yeah. So it's a little bit different than washing your hands of something. So yeah, so you can think this one is used a lot. And I don't want to be in, I'm glad I'm not. You could say that I'm glad I'm not in his shoes. Means like I'm glad I'm not having the same experience as he is. And so here's the cute little picture of a little boy, maybe in his dad's shoes. Like it does give you the idea of like actually being in somebody's shoes, like you are them. And you could say it could be positive or negative. So you might want to be in somebody else's shoes. Like if you see a person, David, I know you like cars, so if you saw somebody driving a Ferrari, you would say, oh, I wish I could be in his shoes. Yeah. Which means like you would like to trade places with him and be living his life driving that Ferrari, you know. So it could be a positive or a negative, you know, thing. You don't want to be in somebody else's shoes, or you would want to be, or if you were, you would do something different. So you can use it a couple of different ways for sure. All right, here's another one we say to bend over backwards. So Alex, why don't you read that and then tell us what you think it means.
To bend over backwards. Their mother is always bending over backwards for them.
Yeah, and usually it's used with the preposition to bend over backwards for somebody or something like that. What do you think it means?
Backwards for them. I'm not sure. The meaning I see in this sentence is that if the children needs the mother is going to help the children, and it's going to do whatever they need to.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, you know, this is actually bending. So you bend your body backwards and you do this kind of position, like a gymnastics position or something. But that's kind of hard to do. So the idea is that you're always doing something, if you're bending over backwards for somebody, you're doing something that's kind of maybe difficult or takes a lot of your time, but you're willing to do it. It's kind of like going out of your way to do it, to try to help somebody, to accomplish something, to get something done. So it wants to give you the idea that it's not easy, maybe. So the mother, she's always bending over backwards for maybe her children, maybe, and it just means she's always doing everything. She's always helping them get what they want. Maybe she has to take them to school, make their lunches, take them to their dance classes, you know, buy them new things. She's just doing all kinds of things. You could also do like an employee, you know, like I'm always bending over. If you're an employee, you could say, I'm always bending over backwards for my boss. And then you could say, and he doesn't really appreciate it. So you're always working hard, doing all kinds of things to you know, try to please your boss, but maybe he doesn't recognize it or appreciate it. So to bend over backwards, it can be kind of a little bit on the negative side, like maybe you're doing too much, but it's more like just expressing that you're really doing a lot, you know. So if you're bending over backwards to help your friends, it means you're really doing anything you can to help them, and maybe things that are even difficult for you or take up your time, that kind of thing. Have you guys heard this one before? Bend over backwards?
So, for example, if you have a problem, I could say, Lisa, I will bend over backwards for you.
Yeah, you could say that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yep. And then I would know, like, wow, you're a really great friend. You know, like.
I have a comment, teacher.
Okay. Sure.
I think that I'd want to say that if someone tend to bend over backwards for someone, he's gonna spoil that person.
Possibly, yes. That you could say that. Yeah, that's a criticism of moms sometimes. So if you're the type of mom or dad or friend or wife or husband or something, and you're always bending over backwards for other people, it could mean that maybe you're not taking care of yourself enough, and maybe people don't appreciate you. And so somebody watching you do that might say, hey, you know, you need to stop bending over backwards for everybody else and take care of yourself, you know, something like that. Lots of different ways to use it, but the idea is that you're really working hard to help somebody get something, that kind of thing.
Bend over backwards.
It's a good one. It's a good one to use, especially if maybe you have a friend and you see your friend always, like their kids walk in and the kids say, "Mom, what's for dinner?" And the mom right away, "Oh, honey, you're home. Okay, let me." And you, as a friend of the mom, you might say, "You need to stop bending over backwards for your kids just because they're, telling you this. You don't have to jump when they yell or something like that." So. Yeah, I think it's what you said, Andre. It's kind of like it's one of those things where you have to be a little bit careful. If you're the one bending over backwards, you want to make sure you're doing it because you really want to. Because if you're doing it because you think you need to, then it kind of becomes a negative way, a negative kind of feeling that you have. If you're always bending over backwards, like for your boss in your work, but your boss doesn't appreciate you and he doesn't recognize you and you could get tired of doing that,
It involves a kind of sacrifice.
Exactly. Somewhat of a sacrifice, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be. It's just if it happens all the time. Like if you use the word always bending over backwards. But if it just happened one time, like, wow, I'm so grateful. My boss, he really bent over backwards for us in that meeting. That means he really did everything he could to help us, and it was okay. That was a good thing,
And sometimes if we bend over backwards for both, and after some time he's gonna use that in abusive way.
Yeah, maybe then he starts expecting you to always do that. Yeah, right.
It depends of person.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, like this another example sentence here. I bent over backwards for you, and you showed no thanks. So it's kind of like saying I did everything I could to help you, but you didn't even say thank you. Something like that. I bent over backwards for you. I did everything I could to help you. Yeah. And you could say in a positive way, like, somebody you notice, you recognize, and you acknowledge. So you say, "Oh, thank you so much I realized that you bent over backwards for me, and I really appreciate it. It was really helpful." Something like that. So, okay. This one, I couldn't really find a dropping of the hat, but this one is to do something at the drop of a hat. So, Andre, why don't you read that one for us?
To do something at the drop of a hat. She's always ready to go shopping at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, and we say this drop of a hat.
Drop.
Yeah, what do you think it means?
Let me a moment. She's always I have no idea, teacher. Maybe.
Well, let me give you a clue.
Teacher, maybe one of my classmates. No.
Well, let me give you a clue. Let's just say typically, let's say that a lot of women like to go shopping. So we're talking about a woman here, she, and we say she is always ready to go shopping, and then we add this part, at the drop of a hat. So she's always ready to go shopping. This kind of tells you, like, when. Is it now? Is it never? Is it like all, what do you think it means based on that? The part before it. She is always ready to go shopping at the drop of a hat. Anybody can answer it. Yeah, whatever. David or Alex?
Suddenly?
Yeah, could be. Suddenly, yeah. So if you're ready to do something at the drop of a hat, it means immediately. Like right now, anytime I'm ready to go. you know.
Whatever happened, I do something. Whatever happened, everyone and everywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of like, so if I read this sentence, this is what I would think. I would think, wow, she really loves to go shopping. Because if anybody says anything like, hey, anybody want to go to the mall? She says, yep, let's go. You know, so immediately she'll drop everything she's doing and she will just go. So it's like the slightest signal. So if anybody says anything about shopping, she will say, oh yeah, I'll do it, you know. So I'll go. Who's going? You know, you don't have to, you know, whereas another person might be like, I don't know. I don't really want to go. How long are you going to be there? What are we going to do? Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It means that she or he is just waiting for someone call him to go to shopping.
Yeah, like she's just ready at any time. It just means immediately. So let's say, for example, I'm going to give you some more examples here. There. John was always ready to go fishing at the drop of a hat. So it just means he's always ready. He's always ready. If somebody said anything about fishing, he's ready to go at the drop of a hat. Immediately. He'll stop what he's doing and he'll do it. And then another example would be, if you need help, just call me. I can come at the drop of a hat. So I can come immediately, right away. So don't worry about it. Just call me, and at the drop of the hat, I will come. So anytime you want to tell somebody that you're ready, anytime, you can just say, you know, at the drop of the hat. Yeah. So David, for example, when you get really used to traveling and you're really eager to go places, you could tell your boss, you know, if you need somebody to go work with a client in another country, don't hesitate to call me. I'm ready to go at the drop of a hat. That means...
Yeah. That's the point. I'm waiting for a travel to the Netherlands.
Be that way? Yeah. Cool. So yeah, at the drop of a hat, it's just you're ready to go, like immediately. So like firemen, for example, they need to be able to go at the drop of a hat. So if they get a call, they're ready to go. What about this one? To knock someone's socks off. Okay, David?
To knock someone's socks off. The last singer really knocked the judge's socks off. To surprise, but like a big surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a surprise, but a really good surprise. Like, so I was thinking of like those TV shows like American Idol or something where, you know, a lot of the singers or the dancers, okay, they're pretty good, but then finally somebody comes and then the judges get like, whoa, where did this guy come from, you know? I've never seen somebody, you know, do such an amazing thing. So when you knock someone's socks off, so it could be the judges, it could be, you know, I knocked my boyfriend's socks off because I did this or something. It just means you really impress somebody. Like the judges were very shocked, but also impressed. Really like, wow, that was amazing.
I heard I heard recently expression throw out.
Throw out?
Throw out. Yeah. Is it the same meaning or not?
No. No.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, when you knock somebody's socks off, you really surprise them, and they're in a good way though. Like, wow, that was amazing. What just happened? You know, they get excited. Yeah. Like, and this happens like in performances, like a band or a musician or a singer. It also happens like in athletics, perhaps, but also if you're a teacher, let's say, and maybe you have a class and somebody turns in a really good project or a really good essay or something like that, and you were surprised. You didn't know that they could do this, and you're like, wow, your project really knocked my socks off. You could say that to your student, for example, just to explain that you were really surprised that, you know. But you wouldn't say it if you were disappointed, though. Like, you wouldn't say it like they really knocked my socks off in a bad way. It's in a good way. It's like you were surprised and shocked, like, wow. I wasn't expecting that, you know. It really knocked my socks off. Yeah, you'll hear that one for sure a lot. And what I did to get these pictures is I just typed in these expressions, these idiomatic expressions, and then in Google in the images, and I just got these images. So they're used a lot in like cartoons. So cartoons are kind of a fun way to learn idiomatic expressions because literally, like this is literal, like his socks are flying off his feet. But the idea is you surprise somebody so much that their socks get knocked off. All right. Hi, Aldona. How are you?
Oh, hello, teacher. I'm fine, thank you. Nice
okay, we're just learning some idiomatic expressions here that are pretty common, actually. So you'll definitely hear them in movies, read them in stories and things like this. So this one, Aldona, why don't you read this? This is called to cause a ruckus. To cause a ruckus.
Yes, to cause a ruckus. These children are causing such a ruckus that I think they're going to wake up in the entire neighborhood.
So what do you think it means to cause a ruckus?
They make lots of noise.
Exactly, yeah. So to cause a ruckus just means to make a lot of noise. This picture, actually, they're making a ruckus means like they're actually kind of making a mess of things, and maybe a lot of wild and crazy stuff is happening. Looks like the guys are tipping over the chairs. So it could go from a mild ruckus, like a small amount of noise, not too bad, to a big ruckus. So in this sentence, though, it just means the children are making a lot of noise, and so they're going to wake up the whole neighborhood, the entire neighborhood. So maybe you have to go tell them to be quiet or something like that. Stop the party or something. So usually a ruckus is like at a party or a bunch of people together. You could also say that something is making or causing a ruckus, like for example, if you have like a dishwasher, let's say, and it's kind of breaking down, something's wrong with it, and it's making a lot of noise. You could say, why is that dishwasher causing such a ruckus? What's wrong with it? So, have you guys heard this one before? Causing a ruckus?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry, teacher. Recently I heard expression rocks my brain.
Rocks my brain?
Yes. Is it have the same root?
No, not really. To rock my brain means to I don't know. Haven't really heard rocks my brain. It's more like rocks my world means something's really making a big impression on me. It's that you like, it's a good thing. Rocking my world. Rocking my brain might be like a negative thing, like it's something really hard and difficult for your brain to think about. All right, let's keep going. To do something until the cows come home. All right, Alex, read that sentence there.
We could talk about this problem until the cows come home, but it wouldn't solve anything.
So what does it mean to do something until the cows come home?
I'm not sure. Maybe to trying to solve something before the children come home. I don't know.
No, it's the cows. The cows come home. All right, so let's see if we can try to figure it out. So we could.
I have. Sorry, teacher.
Andrew, go ahead.
Let me to explain.
Yes.
Let me give it a shot.
Go for it.
I think that it means that if you're trying to solve the problem in the pointless way.
Yeah. Well, it talks about we could talk about this problem until the cows come home, but it wouldn't solve anything. So this is our key here. It wouldn't solve anything.
Pointless way.
Yeah, kind of like that. So we could talk about this problem, and so I could exchange this whole expression like forever. So it just means for a long time.
Okay, I'd go along with that.
Okay. Yeah, so anytime you do something for a very long time, like forever is exaggeration, but so you could say we could talk about this problem, forever. We could talk about this problem for a very long time, but it's still, it wouldn't solve anything. So another example is you can or you could diet until the cows come home and you still won't be a size 4. So that's not very encouraging to somebody, but it's basically the expression of, you could do this for a very long time and, you're still not going to get what you want.
It's only
you could say,
words. It's only
just
words. We should do action.
Right.
We should make action.
Well, that's what it means in this kind of situation, but the actual phrase really just means for a very long time. So anytime you want to say for a very long time, like he's been working, like he's been working on this project until the cows come home, for a very long time. Yeah. Like you could try to solve this physics problem until the cows come home, but I doubt you'll figure it out without help from the teacher. Let's just say something like that. Yeah. So you could try working on this, forever, for the next 3 days, whatever, something like that, for a long time, but it's not going to work out for you. So that's kind of, yeah. It's just it's these expressions are kind of funny, silly. So maybe the cows. It probably came from a long time ago where the cows were out on the range, and it took them a long time until they came back home. Because they're way far away in the mountains, eating the grass or something like that. I think maybe you guys have heard of this one. Have you guys heard of to open a whole new can of worms or to open a can of worms? Is that something?
No.
No? Okay, David, why don't you read that one?
Okay, to open a whole new can of worms. Let's not talk about the politician's love life. We don't. I'm so sorry. We don't want to open a whole new can of worms before the elections. Okay, yeah. It's like a box full of problems.
Exactly. To open a can of worms means to, talk about something that's like problematic. Yeah, like a bunch of problems or something like that. So whenever you're maybe you're in a business or something like that, and something happened, maybe like, last week, and somebody wants to start talking about it, and you might say, oh, let's not open that can of worms, So you can open a whole new can of worms, or a can of worms, or that can of worms, but it basically means let's not talk about those problems. Let's not start talking about those problems, those issues, things like that. It would be like opening up Pandora's box, like a box of problems, exactly. So you don't want to open it. Things that, because if you open up that can of worms, if we start talking about the politician's love life, then it might take us off into a whole new direction, and all these things might happen, like all the affairs he's had, or, his girlfriend's coming out of, and to talk about who he was. So it'd just be a whole big mess. We don't want to open up that can of worms. Like the idea is that worms, every one of those worms could be like a possible problem that would come out of talking about that. So it's better to just not talk about it. Yeah.
Oh, teacher.
Yeah.
I'm just assume that that expression have similar meaning with to sweep something under the rug.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's kind of like, let's just sweep this under the rug would be let's just forget about it, not talk about it. And the other one is let's not start to talk about this one, So it's a situation that will be unpleasant or cause trouble if we start talking about it. Yeah. Opening it means starting to talk about it, and it will cause some kind of problems if we do.
So, teacher, is it related only to politician, or more for anything?
Yeah, anything that might cause trouble if you start talking about it. Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So anything. Yeah, it's like if you say let's not open that can of worms, it's like let's not go there. Let's not talk about that. Let's leave that alone. We don't want to open a can of worms.
Don't speak with your father-in-law about your sexual life, for example.
Yeah, we don't want to open up that can of worms.
About intimate relationships.
Yeah. Or, people's sexuality or whatever. Yeah. Because, that could cause an argument maybe, or people have, frustration about it or stuff like that. Exactly. So there are definitely certain topics.
Something.
Yeah. Yes. Certain topics could be a can of worms for certain people. Like the idea of talking about religion sometimes could be a can of worms. Let's not go there. Let's not open that can of worms, Or talking about politics, or talking about things that you already know people really disagree with, or that might bring up anger or frustration. That's the can of worms. You don't want to open that, All right, maybe this one you guys have heard of, to compare or to be like apples and oranges. Andre, did you go before? I can't remember. Why don't you go ahead and do this one? Go ahead and do this one. That's okay.
To be compare apples and oranges. You can really compare an iPod Touch to an MP3 player. They're like apples and oranges.
So what do you think it means to be like apples and oranges?
Very different.
I think it's mean trying to compare uncompare things.
Right, things basically like what Aldona just said, things that are very different. So you can't really compare apples to oranges because they're not the same. They're fruit, that's true, but they're so different. So whenever somebody tries to compare two things that are very different, it's like they are apples and oranges. So this is the idea of this sentence. You can't really compare an iPod Touch to, or with, you could say, an MP3 player, because basically they're like apples and oranges. They're two very different things. That's all it means. They're two very different things. So the iPod Touch can do all these different things, and this one just does, but they're not really like the same product, Okay, that's pretty simple, I think. What about this one, to get the short end of the stick? Yeah, David?
I have a little comment. I remember a meeting with a customer.
Sure. Yeah.
Where they were trying to compare apples and oranges, their product and our product. And I was giving them technical reasons to tell them we cannot compare. So in that sense, in that situation, I felt I could keep explaining until the cows come home.
Exactly.
I didn't understand why they couldn't compare apples and oranges. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sometimes you'll hear people, maybe they're arguing or something, and you'll just say, you can't compare that. It's like apples and oranges. You can't. That's not a good or a fair comparison. So we're not even talking about the same thing. It's like apples and oranges. So that's how you use it. So yeah, you could have said this. You could have said, like, wait a minute, you guys. It's like apples and oranges. We can't compare these two things. They're too different. You could say that, Then they would understand, hopefully, if they knew that. All right, so we're getting towards the end here. Let's see. To get the short end of the stick. Aldona.
To get the short end of the stick, don't tell me that he got the short end of the stick. He's made over $50 million last season.
Yeah, you can just put he made over 50 million. All right, so what do you think it means to get the short end of the stick?
When you take the rest of something.
Yeah, yeah.
For example,
when you take the rest.
You win the 50% buying or selling a company, and I won the 5% because I own only the 5%. So I get the short end of the stick.
Right. So if you get the short end of the stick, it's actually literally like the smaller amount, but it also means like the worst. You know, in terms of a comparison, you got the worst whatever part of the deal or something. So in this sentence, it says, "Don't tell me that he got the short end of the stick, like on a deal, like comparing two different things, because he made over $50 million last year. So he's not hurting. That's not, a little bit of money. So he couldn't have gotten the short end of the stick. He got a good deal. But if you get the short end of the stick, you didn't get a good deal. Like one person got something better than you, and you got the lesser amount. So it's like in an agreement, like you're saying, like if you make a contract, and then you can see like, I realized later I got the short end of the stick, which means I got the worst deal, and the other person got the better deal. They got the better part of this action or interaction or something. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. I think it's you can see pretty good with these matchsticks. If somebody gets the whole thing and you get the short end, then you're kind of left with not very much. Okay, Alex. Somebody's bark is worse than his or her bite.
Okay, somebody's bark is worse than his her bite. My teacher is really sweet. It's just that her bark is worse than her bite.
Do you know what bark is?
Yes, it's the sound that make
like that.
Yes. This idiom means that it's worse the for example it appears that someone is going to I don't know how to explain.
Does anybody want to try explaining it? Sometimes I think you understand it, but it is difficult to say it in different words. So yeah, it's true. What do you think, David?
I think I think it's the negative expression.
Well, let me.
If I write.
No, I think the opposite. I think the first impression is like it's very. For example, in the example with the teacher, I look at the teacher. Oh, I'm so afraid, but at the end, she's very sweet.
Exactly.
So it's like you are afraid at the beginning, but when you know the person is sweet. We have a similar saying in Spanish, who says more or less, the lion is not so dangerous as it seems.
Exactly. It's the same idea. So somebody's bark is maybe how loud they express themselves. Like a teacher, she might be like, "What are you guys doing? Why didn't you do the work? Blah, blah, blah." She might be yelling at the students, but that's all she does. She doesn't hit you. She doesn't give you bad grades. She doesn't make you do more homework. She just gets frustrated, so she likes to yell maybe, but that's her bark. She's yelling, but her bite is not very bad. So somebody's bite is the actual action that they take, like against you. So if you have a boss, maybe your boss likes to get all grumpy and say, cuss and get really frustrated, but then in the end he doesn't really do anything about it. He doesn't fire people, he doesn't take away your pay, he doesn't make you work overtime. So his bite is not very bad. It's just his bark. He makes big noise. So that's how you describe a person usually. Like that person, yeah, don't worry, her or his bark is worse than his bite. So she likes to yell and talk, but she's friendly. She's not going to hurt you, that kind of thing. Well, we didn't get through all of them, but let me just tell you, there are a couple more you could maybe try to figure out on your own. There are a couple more there. And there's also a test that I wanted to give you. You guys can take the link and do it on your own if you want. It's kind of a good idea to they're all of those. All the idioms that we just went over, they're used, and now you can try to figure out if you can find the answers. So, thanks guys for coming. I have to go now because I have another class in the next hour. But
thank you.
Yeah, try to use those in some other classes with the other teachers.
I would use only one thing about shoes. About shoes.
Okay, knock your shoes off. Yeah, you can try to knock your teacher's shoes off.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Bye.